Next we'll talk about another phylum, that is phylum Cnidaria. Phylum Cnidaria is also called phylum Cnidaria. Cnidaria is also called phylum Cnidaria. The term Cnidaria was coined by Leucart. The term Cnidaria was coined by Leucart, and the term Cnidaria was coined by Banks. The term Cnidaria was coined by Banks. Hashek divided the coelentrates into Cnidaria, Spongiaria, that is sponges, and Ctenophora. Hashek divided the coelentrates into phylum Cnidaria, phylum Spongiaria, that is sponges, and phylum Ctenophora. The term Cnidaria was coined by Banks, and the term Coelentrata was coined by Leucart. The Cnidarians are mostly marine, a few are freshwater. They are both sedentary and free living, solitary and colonial forms. They are the first formed tissue graded animals. First formed tissue graded animals, or first formed phylum with a tissue grade of organization. And they are the first formed diploblastic animals. First formed diploblastic animals with outer ectoderm or epidermis, inner endoderm or gastrodermis, the middle non-cellular mesoglia. The body cavity is called coelenteron or gastrovascular cavity. Now Cnidaria, most of them exhibit radial symmetry. Most of them exhibit radial symmetry, while class Anthozoa of phylum Cnidaria exhibits biradial symmetry. Biradial symmetry. One of the unique characteristic features of Cnidarians is polymorphism. Most of them exhibit a unique phenomena called polymorphism, where each animal consists of various forms which differ from each other with regard to structure and functioning. Where each polymorphic form is called zooid. Each polymorphic form is called zooid. The two basic polymorphic forms of Cnidarians are polypoid forms and medusoid forms. Polypoid forms and medusoid forms. The polypoid forms are mostly vegetative in function. The medusoid forms are meant for sexual reproduction. The medusoid form is also called gonophore. Is also called gonophore. It is an umbrella shaped, free swimming, sexual reproductive zooid. The polypoid forms, under this you have number 1, pneumatophore. Pneumatophore is also called sail. It helps in floating. Number 2, siphanozooid. Siphanozooid or gastrozooid, or it is also called polyp or hydrant. So siphanozooid or gastrozooid or polyp or hydrant, it is meant for nutrition. It is provided with tentacles and stinging cells. The main function is nutrition. The next you have dactylozooid, which is also called palpin or feeler or taster. It is meant for offense and defense. Dactylozooid, palpin or feeler or taster meant for offense and defense. The next one is hydrophilia or phylozooid. It is meant for protection. Hydrophilia or phylozooid is meant for protection. The dactylozooid is also called tentaclozooid. Another name for dactylozooid is tentaculozooid. Okay. The next you have another one called gonozoid. Gonozoid is also called blastostyle. Gonozoid or blastostyle is meant for asexual reproduction. This gonozoid or blastostyle gives rise to medusa by budding. Okay. So pneumatophore or sail meant for floating. Siphonozoid or gastrozoid or polyp or hydrant, it is meant for nutrition. Dactylozoid, which is also called tentaculozoid or palpin or feeler or taster, is meant for offense and defense. Hydrophilia or phyllozoid meant for protection. Gonozoid or blastostyle meant for asexual reproduction. Then next you have another one called nectocalyx. Nectocalyx is meant for swimming. Nectocalyx is also called swimming bell. It is meant for swimming. There are about 7 zooids, altogether 6 polypoid zooids and 1 medusoid zooid. 7 polypoid zooids are present. In a phylum, the Cnidaria, there is an order called order Chondrophora and order Siphonophora of class Hydrozoa exhibit maximum rate of polymorphism. Class order Chondrophora and order Siphonophora of class Hydrozoa, they exhibit maximum rate of polymorphism. There is a hydrozoan called Halystemma. This Halystemma belongs to class Hydrozoa. And order Chondrophora. It is the only cnidarian with all the 7 zooids. It is only cnidarian with all the 7 zooids, and it happens to be the only cnidarian which is bilaterally symmetrical. So that polymorphism is one of the unique characteristics of all cnidarians. Now, cnidarians may be unisexual or bisexual here now. Fertilization may be internal or external. Then they have got a characteristic larva called planula. Most of them have got a characteristic larva called planula. And cnidarians, for the first time, nervous system is noticed. It is in the form of diffuse type, in the form of a network that lies below epidermis. Another network lies above gastrodermis. They are present on either side of mesoglia. Then the nutrition is holozoic, and digestion is partly intracellular and partly intercellular. Part of the digestion takes place in gastrovascular cavity. These partially digested food particles are devoured by endothelial-muscular cells or nutritive cells of gastrodermis to bring about further digestion. The digestion is partly intracellular and partly intercellular. Then all cnidarians are characterized by the presence of cells called cnidoblasts, which are commonly called stinging cells. The stinging cells and cnidoblasts are meant for offense, defense, food capture, anchorage. Their main function is offense and defense. Apart from that, some of them even help in food capture and some of them even help in anchorage. That is one of the unique features of cnidarians. Presence of stinging cells is one of the unique features of cnidarians. Hence, they are also called, due to presence of cnidoblasts, they are also called cnidarians. Cnidoblast is a bag-like structure that encloses a nematocyst or cnidocyst within its bag-like structure. The cnidoblast here now, like this, it is a bag-like structure here now. Within the cnidoblast, there is a nematocyst. This is the nematocyst here now. Nematocyst is deposited with toxic substance called hypnotoxin. Hypnotoxin is made up of phenols and proteins, and this is the outer one is nematoblast. The nematose is held intact by means of lasso. It is held intact within the nematoblast by means of lasso. Then it has got a trigger called nidocil. And upon stimulation, the nematocyst ejects its threaded tube outside, and through threaded tube it injects the hypnotoxin into the prey and predators, makes them unconscious. Threaded tube has a swollen structure at the base called butt or butt shaft. On the butt, it has got small spines called spinnerets. The small spines present on the butt are called spinnerets. And the large spine, there are 3 large spines on the butt shaft. Those large spines are called barbs. The large spines are called barbs and the small spines are called spinnerets, And this is the nematoblast, which is meant for offense, defense. Some of them even help in food capture and some of them even help in anchorage. Phylum Cnidaria is divided into 3 classes. Class Hydrozoa, class Scyphozoa, and class Anthozoa. Class Hydrozoa, class Scyphozoa, and class Anthozoa. Now Hydrozoa, if you look into the important characteristic features of Hydrozoa, Hydrozoans are both marine and freshwater. They are solitary as well as colonial. And in Hydrozoa, the stinging cells, gonads, and sense organs are ectodermal. Stinging cells, gonads, and sense organs are ectodermal. Now in Hydrozoa, the mesoglia is non-cellular. Hydrozoans are radially symmetrical. The medusa in Hydrozoans is called craspidote medusa. The medusa in Hydrozoans is called craspidote medusa because medusa is provided with a muscular fold called velum. So the medusa with velum is called craspidote medusa. I repeat, Hydrozoans, the medusa is called craspidote medusa due to presence of velum. And remember, in Hydrozoa, stinging cells, nematocysts, and sense organs are ectodermal in origin. The sense organs of Hydrozoans are called statocysts. The statocysts maintain balance of the body. Then Hydrozoa, the polymorphism is very high. Highest rate of polymorphism is noticed in Hydrozoans. Fertilization in Hydrozoa may be external or internal. Then the most important examples for Hydrozoa are Hydra, which is commonly called freshwater polyp. We have another example, Obelia, commonly called sea fur or zoophyte. Obelia is commonly called sea fur or zoophyte. Another example for Hydrozoa is Physalia. Physalia is commonly called Portuguese man of war. Physalia is commonly called Portuguese man of war. Then you have another example here now, Velella. Velella is commonly called little sail or purple sail. So all of them belong to Hydrozoa. Hydra, freshwater polyp. Physalia, Portuguese man of war. Velella, little sail or purple sail. Obelia, sea fur or zoophyte. Obelia is commonly called sea fur or zoophyte. They are all characteristic features of Hydrozoans. Now in Scyphozoa, Scyphozoans are commonly called jellyfish. Scyphozoans are commonly called jellyfish now. They are all marine. All Scyphozoans are marine and they are free living forms. None of them is sedentary. All of them are free living forms. And they have got acraspidote type of medusa. Acraspidote type of medusa is present because in medusa, velum is replaced by a rudimentary fold called velarium. Now in Scyphozoans now, mesoglea is abundant, jelly-like, that's why they are also called jellyfish now, and the mesoglea is deposited with amoebocytes, cells called amoebocytes. Now in Scyphozoans, the stinging cells are present in both ectoderm and endoderm. Sense organs and gonads are endodermal in origin. Sense organs and gonads are endodermal in origin. The sense organs of Scyphozoans are called rhophalia. The sense organs are called rhophalia. The sense organs are called rhophalia or tentaculosis. Rhophalia or tentaculosis, they are endodermal in origin here now. Then all Scyphozoans are unisexual. Fertilization is internal. Fertilization is internal. Then in Scyphozoa, medusa dominates in the life cycle. Medusoid stage dominates in the life cycle. Polyp is reduced. The reduced polyp is called scyphistoma. The reduced polyp stage of Scyphozoans is called scyphistoma. It is also called hydrotuba. Scyphistoma or hydrotuba. The scyphistoma or hydrotuba gives rise to medusae by transverse fission called stobilization. Transverse fission called stobilization. Now the Scyphozoans have got two types of larvae. They are Ephyra and Planula. Ephyra and Planula are the larvae of Scyphozoans now. And all Scyphozoans are exclusively marine here now. Then the most important examples for Scyphozoans are Aurelia, which is commonly called jellyfish, Rhizostoma, it is also called jellyfish. Then next you have example Carabdae. Carabdae is commonly called sea wasp. Carabdae is commonly called sea wasp. Pelagia is a phosphorescent jellyfish. Pelagia is phosphorescent jellyfish. Carabdae is sea wasp. Aurelia and Rhizostoma, both of them are also called jellyfish here now. Apart from this, there are two jellyfish. They are Chiropsalmus and Chironex. Both of them are commonly called box jellies. These box jellies happen to be venomous even to the human being here now. They are happen to be the venomous even to human being here. So Aurelia, Rhizostoma, Carabdae, Pelagia, Chiropsalmus and Chironex are the most important examples for Scyphozoans. And Scyphozoans also exhibit radial symmetry here now. Now the Anthozoans are also called Actinozoa. Anthozoans are also called actinozoans. These anthozoans or actinozoans are exclusively, they are marine and they are biradially symmetrical. Biradially symmetrical. And anthozoans, only polyp form exists in the life cycle. Medusa is absent. Medusa is absent. Only polyp exists in the life cycle. Medusa is absent. Now in anthozoans, mesoglea is deposited with connective tissue fibers and cells. That shows tendency towards the triploblastic condition here now. Mesoglea is deposited with connective tissue fibers and cells here now. Now anthozoa, the gastrovascular cavity is divided into several chambers by vertical septa called mesenteries. Vertical septa called mesenteries are there in the gastrovascular cavity, dividing the entire gastrovascular cavity into several chambers here now. Within the mesenteries, the digestive glands and acontia are present. the digestive glands and acanthae are present. The clusters of stinging cells are known as acanthae. In Anthozoa, the stinging cells are present both in epidermis and gastrodermis, but the sense organs and gonads in Anthozoa are endodermal in origin here now. The gastrovascular cavity towards the anterior end, it has got an evagination called stomodium or gullet. Stomodium or gullet is the antemost evagination of gastrovascular cavity here now. On the stomodium or gullet or actinopharynx, there are two ciliated grooves at the corners here now. The ciliated grooves present at the corners of the stomodium or actinopharynx or gullet are called siphanoglyphs. The ciliated grooves present at the corners of the stomodium are called siphanoglyphs. The siphanoglyphs draw water currents into the gastrovascular cavity to facilitate nutrition and respiration. Then the anthozoans, all of them are bisexual. Then the fertilization is internal in them. They've got a characteristic larva called planula. Planula is the characteristic larva of anthozoans. Now anthozoans are known for the formation of corals. The dried up exoskeleton of an anthozoan polyp deposited with calcium carbonate is called coral. The anthozoans are also called acnozoans now. These anthozoans now exhibit a unique phenomena called corals. As I made a mention earlier, the dried up exoskeleton of an anthozoan polyp deposited with calcium carbonate is called coral. The exoskeleton of a single polyp is called corallite. The exoskeleton of many polyps is called corallum. Exoskeleton of many polyps is called corallum. Now within the corallum or corallite, the polyps multiply by budding to form enormous number of polyps now. Their exoskeletons collectively form a huge mound or hill under seawater. A mound of corals is called coral reef. Mound of corals is called coral reef. Now on the basis of the location, coral reefs are divided into three types: fringing reefs. The coral island present in the shallow waters is called fringing reef. Barrier reef, the coral island which grows away from the sea coast, almost at the center of the sea, far away from the sea coast now, is called barrier reef. Barrier reef may grow in a horseshoe shaped form here now, enclosing water at the center. It is surrounded by water. At the center also it encloses water. The largest barrier reef is present in Australia, which is known as the Great Barrier Reef of Australia. Then another type of coral island is atoll. The atoll is a coral island that grows in a horseshoe shaped form, enclosing a lagoon at the center. The largest atoll is present in Maldives and it is called Suvadiva of Maldives. Suvadiva of Maldives happens to be the largest atoll. And some of the most important anthozoans are Metridium, is commonly called sea anemone. Fungia is commonly called mushroom coral. Meandrina is commonly called brain coral. Chubipora is commonly called organ pipe coral. Alcyonum is commonly called dead man's finger, or it is also called mermaid gloves. Millipora and Stylasta, both are commonly called fire serpent corals. They belong to Hydrozoa. Only these two corals, Millipora and Stylasta, which are commonly called fire serpent corals, they belong to class Hydrozoa. Then next you have Fungia, mushroom coral, Meandrina, brain coral, Tubipora, organ pipe coral, Alcyonum, dead man's finger or mermaid gloves, Millipora and Stylasta, fire serpent coral. So these are some of the most important the corals of the Anthozoa. Apart from this, if you want, you can Heliopora, blue coral, Madrepora, staghorn coral, or true stony coral, Antipathes, black coral, are some of the most important corals that belong to class Anthozoa.